We have spent the last few weeks really diving deep into Radiohead's entire discography to really answer that age-old question of which Radiohead album is the best. Which, goddamn, that I it was so hard. I have flip-flopped the entire time, and I actually had kind of a list set in stone. And I listened again this morning, and I was like, no, I've got to change it. I've got to change it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
My top three were what I thought they were going to be, but not in the right order.
Okay.
Uh,
So
yeah,
I might just I don't know if I'm going to go by the numbers because like I had a very like mathematical approach, and I was like, giving every song a score, and then I would add up the all the points for each album, and then divide it by the number of tracks to get
Oh
an.
my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
deep dive the
You
shit
went
out of this boy.
So,
mathematical.
I mean, it gave me interesting results. So I can either go by the numbers or I can go by my heart, and that's
I
where
see.
I'm still not sure where I'm gonna go
Dude, that's what's hard with this, bro. That's what's hard because there's part of me like I'm driving myself crazy because I had it in my mind of which album I was going to put at number one, and I'm like I can't do it, even though I'm very conflicted. But I'm glad you put like an actual like number quantity to it because I feel like
Yeah,
that's somehow like
I just thought it would be like a fun experiment to see if like what I think I like is actually how it would play out. And
Yeah.
but the reason why I'm like not sure is because a few albums had like one or two tracks that I'm like, I don't love, and it actually brought the average score down. But like
Yeah.
that's what it
think
was for
about that
me.
album as a whole, I'm like, no, I think that's my favorite one.
Yes, dude, we're on the same page there. It's gonna be funny if we came to the same conclusion. Um,
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out like what my heart says still. So,
Kyle, I feel like since you have the actual numbers for it, are you okay going last?
oh, because I won't be influenced by you guys.
No, it's just there's this finality to the number thing.
Yeah, yeah, I'll go last. I
I
thought you
think
were
it,
going to tell me to go first.
Hmm.
yeah, well, you could. You want to kick us off?
No,
That can work too. Okay,
I
okay,
actually don't.
okay. We'll say it because I just think I don't know. I'm looking forward to the numbers now. But yeah, if Carlos, if you're not ready yet, I
I
can
can
start.
go if you want me to go.
No, either
Oh,
Up to
way.
you.
and then what? How we do? How are you guys? How do you guys want to do it? I mean, I guess whoever goes first can kind of set the stage. But are we going to go like starting in last place and work our way up to first, or are we talking top five? Like
That's what I did. I kind of put it in that order. My first number one's at the bottom. So
number? Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
going from the your number
so I'm
one.
gonna start with the top like number six or number five, I mean.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we're
let's do
doing
the top five, and then we can, if we have time, we can dig into like the
yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah. Let's do top five
Yeah.
each, and then obviously that's going to leave out a few records that might have some honorable mention tracks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Carlos, you actually start because I ran out of rum and coke, so I'm gonna
right.
go
Okay,
get.
yeah. Wow.
Dang, that was fast.
Drank it all down.
Oh, thirsty apparently.
I'm thirsty.
So my number five, as you saw, was Amnesiac.
Mm.
Um, Overall, I feel like this is a bit of a better album than Kid A. Um, all the songs for Kid A and Amnesiac were recorded at the same time, in the same session,
Mhm.
and then they split them up later. So I feel like they could have cut out some songs from each album
Mhm.
and just put the albums together and made like a. That's why I made that list. I sent it out, that Kid Amnesiac, which you can actually purchase this, which
Yeah,
is Kid Amnesia.
it's both. It's both
Yeah, it's
albums, right?
both together. So,
Yeah,
um,
I kind of want to get that.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Be
And
sick.
then it's flipped on the other way. So,
I just have to really quickly say, you putting Amnesiac over Kid A is such a fucking Carlos thing to do.
no,
I don't
I
know.
honestly,
Is this?
I listened to these albums, man, and I felt like it, and it's not a big difference. It just like barely.
But it means
barely a little
today's
bit
not in your
better.
top five, which is a travesty.
That's how
Yeah.
uh,
I'm gonna be the odd man out, I know, on this.
I love it,
Um,
man. Stay true to you.
all right. And then so should I just go on to my next?
No, no, no. I think I would love to comment. Uh,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, I mean I agreed. It's interesting. I had a lot of similar notes because I wrote a few notes on each song.
Yeah.
Um
I did that after you showed your notes that
uh
day. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, I got to
I
do more here."
yeah, I I wrote like just well kind of I don't want to maybe I'll save my overall thoughts, but for some of the individual tracks, what's interesting is like you could really hear Tom York on this album even more than Kid A
Yeah.
is he's using his vocals as a texture
Oh, for sure.
and as
I've like most of Radiohead is his vocals or is a texture because a lot of it you can't understand. You have to look at the lyrics to
oh
understand what he's saying.
yeah, like post OK Computer though, like more so.
Hmm.
I was listening to a podcast and they did a deep dive into like the history behind each album, and they were
Yeah.
saying in interviews at the time, Tom York was just saying how he was just so sick of his voice, and he was so sick of like after OK Computer came out, like listening to the radio and hearing everything kind of like sound like him
Ah,
because so many people were kind of like jumping on the trend of like what he was doing, and he got so tired of it to
yeah.
where he for Kid A and Amnesic, it was just a complete breakaway from that, where he's like, well, I'm sick of how my voice sounds, so I'm gonna change the way it sounds. And
Yeah.
and now his voice is a texture or an instrument, and not
Yeah.
maybe the lyrical content in that sense isn't as important as
Hmm.
much as like sonically what his voice was doing,
Yeah.
which is really interesting to think about in when listening to both of these albums.
Yeah. What do you think, Rudy?
I guess the first thing that came to mind for me is I feel like there's like Amnesiac has like a little bit of a darker mood to me
Okay.
than today. A little, like a little bit more melancholic. I mean,
Mm.
it's not that that's not on all of his records, but there's kind of like an upbeatness and an optimism, and I feel like Amnesiac goes into these kind of explorative, dark, funky, interesting places, and
Yeah.
so for me, I think it's very interesting, and maybe it's honestly like I do think like I could definitely see a case for it being underappreciated 100%. Um, Also, when I get to mine, I didn't do like a. I wish I would have written like some track breakdowns, but I'm kind of going off of it. I'm gonna probably give more like an
Yeah.
like conceptual overview. Um, but I like the fact that you're doing a distinctly you pick because I mean that's kind of how I honestly. I mean I don't know that there's so much quality music here to explore, and
Yeah.
I do
Mm.
think that in general, Radiohead all of their albums fall under the expectations that their other records have created. So people
Yeah.
judge them in that way. And I think that can sometimes make some of their music not as appreciated. That's maybe doing things that are a little bit more adventurous or more exploratory. It's just for me, this felt a little bit more like the extra songs. And it's not that they're good,
Yeah.
um, but I will say, like I'm gonna get into this when I start making my list. But part of what comes into play with all of these rankings is the fact that we've probably all listened to these albums a lot, which is
Yeah.
an interesting thing.
Actually, I'll tell you this. I have not listened to Kid A and Amnesiac a whole lot.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, I haven't because I don't know, for some reason I just didn't gravitate towards those.
yeah.
Um, I like the Bends. I like OK Computer. I like Hail to the Thief, and I like um and then I kind of just wasn't listening to Radiohead for a while. I don't know. Just kind of got away from listening to Radiohead.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I think that for me, when I first heard Kid A, I didn't like it,
yeah.
and I had to really take some time with it, and then I like fell like deeply in love with it.
Yeah.
So it could be that, I will say I've listened to Amnesiac a lot less than Kid
Okay.
A. I mean, I listened to all the records a few times when
Yeah.
I was doing this, but Um, yeah, I think part of it is gonna inevitably be our relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but
Um,
I like that you put something interesting and different in there. It's cool, and I think that there's definitely a subgroup of Radiohead fan.
oh, I looked at Reddit, and I looked at, they had this on there and people were putting their top 10 lists and it was always different. It was
Yeah.
never
Hmm.
it was never the same. So,
But there's a group of people that definitely are like Amnesiac is slept on. So you're not
yeah,
alone in that for
yeah.
sure.
Um, yeah, and I want to say I listened to these as well 3 times, each album.
Nice.
I'd listen to them. I don't have all albums on vinyl, but I'd listen to them, streaming them. But then the ones that I did have albums, I would also listen to that too. Um, and just not try and pay attention to the music, but also just get that feel for it, as far as just is it a good album? Like if no one knew what it was and it was just playing in the background, would somebody go, "Wow, this is good. Like I like this." So I kind of try to do it both ways. All right.
One last thing I'll say about Amnesiac is that I just think Pyramid Song is just incredible. I just
Yeah,
have
for sure.
my all-time favorites. So
Yeah. My note on Pyramid Song is
I like it.
I had similar notes for How to Disappear Completely on Kid A. And I just feel like they can't exist on the same album because they're kind of doing the same thing.
What song on Kid A?
How to Disappear Completely.
Okay.
Just beautiful, beautiful, melancholy, kind of haunting.
Yeah, on that one I put How to Disappear Completely. I put contemplative.
Yeah, but it's
It's
got this
kind of a contemplative
haunting
song.
melody.
Yeah,
I'm not here. This isn't happening. Tom York was, well, I'll get into a little bit of the history of that one later.
yeah,
But he was just in a weird place where he was sick of the attention and
right.
everyone, wanting, basically worshiping him, and
Hmm.
he couldn't handle it. And he wrote that song.
Yeah,
And it was kind of to disassociate
right, yeah,
from what was going on. So
definitely.
it's interesting. Like, I don't know. Like when I kind of know the backstory,
It
it
affects
makes
the way you
me.
listen to it
It
and how
does,
you
and
feel it.
it impacts, yeah, the emotion behind,
Yeah.
listening to the
And
music.
then again, that's going to totally make the list different, right? It's going
Hmm.
to change things up for someone. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's keep
Um,
going.
all right, number 4, The Bends. Just a great 90s rock album that is looking to the future. Although it may not be as an innovative as the other albums, it being their second, it's one of the more complete, solid albums with the exception of the track Sulk.
I like it. I love what you said about it, that it's a great 90s record that's looking to the future. Because I feel very similar that it was this transitionary period.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was just different. It was like they took one of the biggest leaps forward, I think, with the Bends, in that sound. They went from being just one of the regular bands to being at the top. That's what, you know,
yeah,
changed it.
well, I mean, a Pablo Honey like feels like it could just assimilate to the 90s
Right.
easily. And the bends is where you start to get some sounds that are real, exactly like you said. It's like they're starting to, it's almost as if this clear 90s pictures is starting to blur into
Yeah.
something really innovative and kind of
Yeah.
weird and kind of dissonant. And then and they put that, but it's still grounded in these really catchy
For
hooks
sure. Yeah.
anthems. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I really appreciate, I'll talk about it more when I
Yeah.
get,
Yeah. Kyle.
Yeah, I feel like Street Spirit is one of the most underrated songs on the album.
Yeah.
So good. It's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really cool stuff. I'll say more about it.
Okay. Number 3, Hail to the Thief. Um, I don't nobody is gonna agree with me on this one.
Tell us, tell us
two,
about it.
and then my overall view of this, I honestly don't know why this is such an underappreciated album. It's full of innovative approaches and mixes of textures. It's actually a great mixture of the Bends and OK Computer's rock with Kid A Amnesiac, electronic drones and synths. There is subtlety at times and explosiveness at times. It's a well-rounded and solid album. I would not take out one track from this album.
I respect the take. For me, like there's definitely tracks that I could take out, and that's actually why for me it
Yeah.
didn't make the top five because it felt. I really like when Radiohead feels pretty like sleek and tight,
Mm.
and I mean, like 14 tracks is not huge, but it's just like some of my favorite ones. I just feel like they feel a little tighter. There was a couple of I would have to I'll let you share your thoughts, Kyle. I'm gonna say like give a really quick listen and figure out which tracks held it back for me, but you
Yeah.
give your
Yeah, I'll comment on it because it's not in my top five. But my standout tracks were 2 + 2 = 5, Backdrifts, There, and Myxomatosis. That one was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Um, I wrote super cool vibe, electronic dance, fuzzy, fuzzy bass line, but it was just really cool. And I don't know if I had ever heard it before we did
Oh,
this.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then A Wolf at the Door, I just wrote cool because it's different. It just felt
Yeah.
different from any other Radiohead song I'd ever heard.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I think is the highlight of the album. Uh,
Yeah, it was a single from it.
an incredible melody. And then
Yeah.
the cool thing that I'll mention about 2 + 2 = 5 is that it definitely played into like all the like kind of music nerds and like Radiohead's like they do a lot of stuff that's like with time signatures and intervals and chords that are like just showing their like music nerd fans like
Uh-huh.
hey we see you. Interesting thing about that is when he's singing the chorus.
Yeah.
I heard this from the podcast. I'm not this smart. But when he's singing 2 + 2 = 5, he says 2 + 2, and those notes are 4 notes apart from each other. But
Okay.
when he says equals 5, those notes are 5 notes apart from each other.
Okay.
So yeah, he's kind of like it's kind of like texture or what do they call that? It's like
Yeah,
um
definitely
um
some music nerdness.
yeah, it's like I forget the name. Oh, text painting, lyrical text painting. And
Okay.
it's where like the lyrics or like the melody is actually like reinforcing like what he's saying
Okay.
somehow, but like on like a deeper like abstract musical
Interesting.
level. And so yeah, next time you actually hear it, let's listen to it really quick.
Yeah.
Show you what I'm talking about because it's pretty rad that they do that. Um, so the two, those are five
Yeah.
notes apart. And then we sing the five, it's like 5 notes apart. And
Okay.
it's like kind of this weird interval.
Okay.
It's matching what he's actually saying, the 2 + 2
Interesting.
= 5. And the concept of the song is just kind of like it goes back to 1984,
Yeah.
um, Orwell, about
Okay.
like just kind of
Dystopian.
dystopian and like the government, kind of spreading propaganda that's not true, which,
Yeah.
goes back to the title of the song. Like,
Yeah. A super, I mean, they're a political band, totally like
yeah,
outright,
but
like
it's cool that
totally
like
political.
he's speaking to that political concept, but then like
Yeah.
the actual melody is speaking
Right.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this was during George Bush's term, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was. Anyway,
Let's
I was going to say one of the reasons why maybe I like it more than others is because I was I moved away from Salinas, moved up to Montana, and I was there I think I had just bought the CD the year before and hadn't really listened to it a whole lot, um but yeah, for some reason was listening to it up there and just fell in love with it, you know? Um yeah. So kind of
I
and maybe it was just the change in my life and the change just makes it, kind of stand out for me, but I don't know.
I was gonna say like it for me it has a little bit of a gloomy downbeat energy to it.
Yeah.
So perhaps like with some of the transition that you were going through, it really just resonated with that season of life.
Maybe.
Because
Yeah.
for me, I think that's where it's so much of that kind of heavy gloom. I think it's the same problem I have with like I was trying to re-listen to Joy Division
Hmm.
recently, and I mean, obviously that's like the ultimate like downer music, like the lead, I forget what the lead singer's name is, but he ended up killing himself in the second record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I actually find myself enjoying New Order more, where it's like it's a little bit
Yeah.
more, which is funny because I have a very like dramatic, angsty side, and
Yeah.
at times that really resonates with me.
That's odd because I feel like Kid A and Amnesiac would be a little bit more down
There
than
is down, but there's themes of hope really
yeah.
infused today that I
Yeah.
guess I'll speak to. And maybe again, maybe I need to spend more like I will say it's worth saying out loud that the ones that are lower on my list I've spent less time with because
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was some that I could like it like clicked, and this one I
Yeah.
guess just hasn't clicked for me, and I think it's because just kind of the overall like something on like the gloaming. Like for me, the gloaming feels like it's not that it's not interesting. It's
Yeah.
just that, like if I think of like the transitionary kind of like beat tracks in like Kid A, to me
Yeah.
they're golden enough that I don't feel like they're filler. And
Huh.
that's how I feel. But again, I really love that you shared how Hell to the Thief was like personal to you because
Yeah.
there's like again, like I with my connection with the Gorillas, like as I was a kid connecting to that music,
Yeah.
I felt like I appreciate those records probably more than they actually. I mean, some of them are really good, like some of
Yeah.
their OG ones, but like in general, I feel like I have a deeper attachment to the Gorillas because they're part of my story. So
Right.
that's always anyways, I'll just keep going.
All right. Number two, In Rainbows. And my overall opinion is an amazing album all the way around, except for maybe Jigsaw falling into place. Lots of different textures, sonics, imaginative approaches, a great follow up to Hail to the Thief. Just masters of constructing songs.
It's funny you don't like Jigsaw falling into place because it literally has the most streams on Spotify.
Yeah,
The masses disagree with you.
I guess.
Carlos is a contrarian.
You know what? I never paid too much attention to Jigsaw falling into place. So when I went on Spotify and I saw the stream count, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Interesting. Like I would have imagined 15 step or
Oh, any of those other songs,
or
any of the
Disney
other
having
songs
way
from the
more.
freaking album.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel like it's a filler. I feel like it's like a transition to the end. For me it works. But I love honestly like I like good takes.
Does this already
Mhm.
share sound when you share?
Go ahead. I'll tell you.
That's
No.
not
No. Okay.
No, but you can check the box.
There's no box for me.
What?
It's
On Zoom?
different now for some reason. That's why I was struggling
That's weird
oh
because
here
it's the
before.
same on my end.
Anyway,
Here, watch this. I even got this cool option where I can be
background
down
changed.
here. Oops.
Whoa.
Doing that.
Here, watch this. Look what I can do.
Look at me down in the corner. Hey. All right. So let's see. Going a little bit. It's cool, man. I think it has a good groove.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you
like
can
it.
disagree.
I just feel like it was I feel like they could have just cut that out and gone from I forget what's before.
But it builds too.
You're in the
like,
way. Your head's
you
in the
know,
way.
he's singing and then he gets there's like
I like it as a transition to the end. I feel like it goes a perfect.
I think it's okay. Yeah, I just said it was the weakest. I didn't say I didn't like it. I just thought it was the weakest album.
yeah. I mean, if you're not the album's your number two pick. So
Yeah.
let's listen to this. You mentioned the intro that they don't typically start their albums like this.
Oh, this is such a perfect beginning, man.
Yeah, because they usually start their album slow.
Mhm.
That textured beat. Oh, cool.
I love the bait and switch here because you're like, oh, this is gonna be like a Kid A song, and then it completely switches to like a band's OK Computer song.
Oh, it's so cool. Perfect
Right.
beginning.
Right. Oh man, so good.
Yeah. Let's go to my number one. Man, taking so much time.
That's all right. I mean,
I won't go through the songs this time. I'm just
I
gonna say,
think
I think
I'll
you
be
know what
fast.
the number one will be for me. It's OK Computer. Um, I feel like this is the biggest shift. I feel like it was a pretty big shift from Pablo Honey to the Bends, but I feel like the Bends to OK Computer was the biggest shift that they made.
Absolutely.
Um, so the Bends, people talk about Kid A being a big shift, and because that was another big one, but I feel like this incorporates electronic synths, drones, different arrangements, different instrumentation, and songs that transform, which they didn't really do before, you know, as much. There was a couple songs in the Bends I think that transition a little bit, but this was like big, huge transitions within the song. So
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
agreed.
Um, Kyle, I'm gonna fly through mine because I'm just gonna do like an overview. I want to give
Okay.
you more
That's
time.
fine, and then we can, when I go
Yeah,
through, we can
sorry.
maybe listen to more tracks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I will start with my number five, which is the Benz, um, which is in large part because of exactly what Carlos was saying, that it was kind of like ahead of the curve for rock, and it marked a really cool transitionary period. And some of the tracks are just amazing. But like a song like High and Dry is like so like I don't know, kind of like iconic 90s acoustic, but it's also
Hmm.
like, again, it's starting to blend in their kind of like forward sound. Um,
Yeah.
the thing that held the record back for me is some of the more like the title track, "The Bends," is like very standard rock, and I just to
Hmm.
me it's like it's very boring compared to their later work. So
Mm.
I felt the same about like yeah, like Black Star and Soulk are like okay to me. I just think that they feel very like anthemic rock at parts, and
Yeah.
it that part of their sound, it almost like reminds me of like kind of like some of the reasons why I sometimes get bored with U2, even though some of U2 stuff is great, but it's just the more like standard anthemic rock, just
Yeah.
it's overplayed for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, very, very forward thinking track. And like when it's, yeah, I actually really, I know you didn't take any notes on Nice Dream, but I feel like that was a really cool kind of part in the album where it starts to transition into some.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't.
But anyways, yeah, like definitely like some forward thinking and like Planet Telex, Fake Plastic Trees, uh Just My Iron Lung. Yeah, good songs, good, yeah. For me there was enough standout tracks on there that like the pros outweighed the cons to place it in five. For four, I did a Moon-Shaped Pool, and
Okay.
that's because I think that that album is just consistently beautiful. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. It's very atmospheric, and it's very like there's
Mm.
not another album like it to me that's just it has less of their melancholic and more of their just like purely beautiful melodies. Um
Huh.
the song Daydreaming
Here,
is
Rudy, since I'm not going to talk about Moonshaped Pool, let's um let's play some of your favorite songs.
yeah, yeah, play Daydreaming.
You want
This
me
is
to jump to any parts?
um
Let me just.
yeah, you can jump into it a little bit. There you go. That's good. To me, this sums up the album. I feel like the rest of the album fills in this kind of sound. This is the highlight for me.
Yeah, this was my favorite track on the album.
It's so beautiful. But I've listened to this album a couple of times. At first, I thought it was like it was good, but not one of their greatest. But after spending some more time with it, I'm like, oh, this is freaking, it's gorgeous.
Mm.
And they carry, again, it's not quite to the high that to me this song reaches right here. That transition. Oh,
Yeah, that chord change is cool.
beautiful.
I forget, does this one pick up a little
It
bit?
does. You can jump way later. Where it kind of becomes like
It
expansive.
felt almost like It could be in the soundtrack of like an epic fantasy video game.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know why I thought that. I was like thinking like Legend of Zelda vibes. Cool.
Yeah. And anyways, I want to spend more time on it. We'll come back to this later if we have time, and I can talk more about it. But to me, all of the album, it keeps that mood. Maybe not quite at that high for me, but it's just all in all, like there's not. I think similar to how you said, Carlos, there's not a track you would take out. I feel that way about this album. Because I feel like even if some of the songs are like a 7.5 or an 8, like as a cohesive piece, it's
Yeah.
just really lovely. And and
Hmm.
and, and I think there's a maturity to it too. I mean, this was after King of Limbs, which is, in my opinion, by far Radiohead's weakest record. Um, it's fun, it does like it noodles around and experiments and stuff, but it's like it to me it doesn't compare to the other stuff. Um,
Yeah, it's also like let's just talk about King of Limbs really quick. 8 songs
Yeah.
feels like an EP to me.
Yeah.
And really like the only standout track is Lotus Flower, which I
but
think is a really cool song.
yeah, yeah, that's a good one. And I'll say like there's a Gorillaz album. I forget I think it's called like The Fall, where like they made it on an iPad while they were like touring, like fucking around. Anyways, it's but after that, like it's like they kind of this was like a return to form, and there was yeah, it has an orchestral quality is very beautiful. Real the first track is really good too, and like just the play a little bit of Burn the Witch. Yeah, just such a strong start, and I feel like the album kind of then just falls into a consistent holding of that atmosphere that's just pleasant.
This was like the single that came out before the album. To me, this like I could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anything after this song was at like this tempo. It was all pretty like kind of following like daydreaming, kind of like this ethereal, dreamlike flow. Go back. Pretty cool vocal melody.
I feel like this album has kind of they do a lot of this where they kind of like do like the kind of like string electronica where it's like kind of like
Yeah.
fade. Yeah, very cool album. Very I wouldn't call it underrated. It's pretty beloved in the Radiohead community, but generally, but like, yeah, that's my number 4. Okay, I'm gonna go on to number 3. Okay, so for me, I think I'm probably more predictable, and then my top 3 are going to be between OK Computer, Kid A, and In Rainbows. For me, those 3 albums are on a different level than the rest of Radiohead's discography. I can respect the personal takes and I think that it makes sense, Carlos, what you value in music, why those albums would stand out. But yeah, these three albums to me are all phenomenal, and they kept shuffling for me. And I will say I came into this having one album where it's like obviously that's going to be number 1, and I ended up changing it kind of last minute, which but I'm happy with it. I'm at peace with it. I will say I'm
I'm
going to
at
give
peace. I'm at peace with it.
I'm gonna give the caveat
It
that
won't keep you up at night.
I'll say this, if I were giving like a ranking of the most influential albums and like greatest albums of all time, I probably would keep my number 1 rank what it is. But I went with what I personally love to listen to the most is how I ended up and similar to you, Kyle, I was like, which one has tracks that I'm like, I can take it or leave it.
Mhm.
For me, number 3, this is gonna be a shock, is OK Computer.
Hmm.
Which
All right.
actually surprised me because I was dead set till the end that like OK Computer was going to be number 1 for me. And historically, it's been the album that I would always consider So I'll say from like a critical standpoint, it's number one in my opinion. And also, I think from a standpoint of like an album setting out to do what it's meant to do, I mean, it's just also in terms of influence, because I think to your point, Carlos, like when it came along, it was such a leap forward in music, which
Yeah.
is why for a long time I was like, I'm not going to take that away from number one. Um, but the only reason why I lowered it, and to me, I don't know, I would say all of these are kind of like depending on the day, the orders can switch for me.
Yeah.
But I will say, even though I think that and part of it may be that my relationship with it is I've listened to this record a ton. So on like after a ton of re-listens, like the Fitter Happier song and Electioneering is like a weak point to me. It's
You're
like,
happier.
yeah, stronger.
That's how I start my day every day. I just listen to that.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
remember what to do in your life.
Yeah.
Like,
Eat
like
better.
the thing is
Brush your teeth.
in the grand theme of like the record as a whole, it's brilliant. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant art, but it's grating as hell when you've listened to the album a few times. And this is no, also, I have to say with electioneering, this is no fault of Radiohead at all. But I think that sound has been aped so much that it just sounds kind of cheesy and generic, like kind of like a bad Coldplay or Muse track.
So you're
Um,
not looking at these in context of
I,
kind of when they're out. You're kind of going, where am I at now?
yes, that's what
Um,
I landed personally.
and I mean, I guess we all should do that, but I mean, I also kind of look at it in context and go, okay, this is like this was back. Of course, we've come further, in sounds and composition and all that,
Generally,
but I'm like, man, that's a strong album.
generally,
Yeah.
that's how I look at it, and that's
Yeah.
why for the longest time I didn't just consider this like the number one Radiohead album. I was like, this is the number one album ever, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a long time on my personal list.
Right, yeah.
It just after re-listening to it, for me, when I listen to like a certain like great Beatles record, um, even the tracks that are a little grating, I can re-listen to.
Yeah.
No, it just took it down just a slight notch for me of like,
Yeah, yeah.
being honest, the high points of this album are phenomenal. I mean, Paranoid Android is one of the greatest songs ever. Airbag is one of the best openings. The Tourist is one of the best closings. I
Yeah.
love this album. I'm
Yeah.
in love. And for again, part of what I have to say is that my own consumption of it maybe knocked it down
Yeah,
a
yeah.
notch. But I mean, it's if again, if I was honestly, if I was doing like a list, like a critics list, I would probably still have it in the spot that it is because exactly why you said the influence that the record has.
Yeah.
But I do just think like for me, the only weak point of the album is Fitter, Happier, and Electioneering are two. It's just a little bit boring, and I find myself loving everything and usually skipping that. And I was like, okay,
Okay.
skip that. Maybe I should think about that.
Yeah.
Whereas I've listened to In Rainbows and Kid A as much, and I find myself not skipping any tracks on those.
Yeah.
So that's like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with myself, and despite the acclaim and the and again, if I'm thinking of this like the way I would think of novels, this is like a perfect novel.
Yeah.
So I have to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disagree totally with your number one pick. It's just this is why I ended up putting it at number three.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Um, I went for number two. I went Kid A, and I was like, I respect you putting Amnesiac over Kid A. I totally respect it, and I also think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Kid A is when I first listened to Kid A. First couple of times, honestly, I was like, dude, I don't get why this is like respected. I don't. It doesn't. But there was like a turning point for me where I was listening to it, and it somehow it like emotionally connected to me, and I just like got it, which that does not always happen. There's some records that it doesn't matter how much I listen to it, it's like I don't
Right.
get.
Yeah.
Um, but I think once it clicked for me, I can listen to that album almost any time and I just get absorbed by it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So everything in its right place is an incredible um opener. If I were to say like a weak point in the if I had to give a weakest point, I would say Kid A, the beginning of it's a little bit boring on the build up, but it feels appropriate to what it's going to build towards. I think How to Disappear Completely is, probably my number two favorite Radiohead track. And I think, like Kyle, you're probably going to speak to the whole story behind that, but it tells such a story with his, you know, Tom York's like battle with like kind of like anxiety and wanting to just kind of dissociate. The
Yeah.
way some people say that Tree Fingers feels out of place on the record, and I like hard disagree on that because I feel like Tree Fingers, to me, it's like the
It's like
anxiety.
the interlude, right?
Well, it not only is it a perfect
Because it's
interlude,
only like a minute, right? Or something.
it's
Yeah,
actually
Track.
it's like all instrumental.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's longer than you would think, but I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it almost to me feels like this serene peace that has come after battling through anxiety.
Yeah,
And
you got to listen to Tree Fingers as part of the album as a whole.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you play it by itself, it's not going to make anyone's like, cool mixtape.
No, it helps bridge, bridge the album,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah. And honestly, if like I was a curator of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, uh,
Dude,
that
same
that
thing.
would be the song in the jellyfish exhibit, dude,
Oh,
hands down.
I said the same thing to my wife. I was like, dude, this is the jellyfish music.
Yes. It would just be that on repeat while you're looking at jellyfish.
Oh my God, that's how you know we're Selena's kids, man. That is
Yeah, dude.
So can I say what I thought about Kid A?
Yeah.
yes, let me just say one last thought.
Okay.
The 1-2 punch of motion picture soundtrack and Untitled is what for me set it as number two. Because I think that motion picture soundtrack is just so beautiful, so kind of like contemplative. And then Untitled, it builds to this like soaring little crescendo and then it's just done. Which it
Yeah.
reminds me a little bit of on the Beatles Abbey Road, how it
Yeah.
has that amazing little sonic build, and then it's just done, and then it has a little diddly about the Queen. But like for
Yeah.
me, that's that album, that little crescendo at the end. I was like, oh, this just like it settles the whole. So yeah, I could talk a lot more about this, but all of these songs feel like oddly personal to me,
Yeah.
and I think and it also gives me a distinct feeling like I'm in like an art exhibit, like and it's such a I don't know. I fucking adore this album. But it's interesting because I've had very few experiences where I really strongly dislike an album
Yeah.
and then it's like becomes one of my favorites. So I don't know what this cast over me, but somehow it like once it like I got it,
Yeah.
it's now become one of my favorites and I can't stop listening to it.
So this is my overall take of it.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was super cool direction for the band to go. I applaud them for not trying to recreate OK Computer. They took one part of OK Computer, which was the electronic sounds, and explored that.
Mm.
Overall, this album is half great, and the other half falls off a bit after How to Disappear Completely.
I can I,
So I
I
feel
can
like Tree Fingers is a good bridge, but I just feel like that other side of the bridge wasn't there
yeah.
for
I
me.
I could see that. And to be honest, like I think that's a fair take. For me, it worked, but I could see how it feels a little bit weaker because the first half is extremely strong.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I think I think somehow the mood was so set from the first half that the kind of more downbeat second half, like
Yeah.
it's cohesive for me. But I do think it's a fair critique to say that the first half is
Oh,
just
it's freaking amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Um,
just real quick.
yeah. So j just real quick, the other things I was gonna say, it has some interesting spots, but never hits as good as the first four songs.
Yeah,
Morning Bell and Untitled are weak tracks. They could have left them off, or they could have ended with Motion Picture Soundtrack and Untitled as the same song. They could
sure.
have just
Yeah, like
extended Motion Picture Soundtrack. They could have done a key change or something and changed into that and just ended with it.
Well, I almost feel like that's kind of what they were going for, but I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean, though?
only
Why
a
even make
minute,
it a different track? Just go into it.
only a minute long.
Yeah.
I think the purpose really was to just end the album, and for whatever reason, they didn't want it to be a part of track 10.
Yeah. Can you play the end of that though? Because I feel like it so fits. No, the motion picture soundtrack.
Burps.
I think
And I
actually,
feel there, I'm like, it ends with a note.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why could you not just take that note and change it and then go into Untitled?
I, I get what you're saying. I think that in general, this album is a spacious album.
Yeah.
And
But
for
the,
and
but the break in the track kills it for me because I'm like, why?
see,
Yeah,
and
that's
It
interesting.
starts with one note, it ends with one note, and
Like
starts with
you
one
would
note.
actually like it better if there was no break
No
and
break.
it was a 10-track album.
I
Yeah.
honestly, I would love that. I would be fine with that change, but I'm kind of fine with it like coming down and then rising back up. But
Okay.
it's interesting that like even the use of space affects your relationship with the music, which I mean,
Yeah.
when we jazz, man, we can have a whole conversation about that because space says something.
Yeah.
I
And I
like
thought I thought this Morning Bell was a weaker Morning Bell than on Amnesiac.
yeah.
Oh, I
Back and
love this song, man.
replay the Amnesiac.
He's a little whiny in it, but
I like the instrumentation they use in the other one over this one.
Play the Amnesiac one.
getting really textural. The vocals at the end.
Yeah.
Let's just compare them because I found that interesting. I didn't even realize till we did this that their Morning Bell was on both.
One thing.
We can't hear you right now.
What?
I was I feel like other
Hold on. Here?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying you couldn't hear Rudy?
I couldn't hear Rudy.
All right, Rudy.
I'll just say as a single like track to track comparison, I might agree with you on that I like that one better. But in the context of the record, I feel like this one
Yeah.
fits really well.
Yeah, I so once again I put together that list, and I took certain tracks from Kid A and certain tracks from Amnesiac, put it together, but yeah, I used the Morning Bell from Amnesiac.
I do want to try to I want to listen to the kid. Okay, I'm gonna go on because I want to give Kyle proper
What's your
Yeah,
number
yeah.
one?
number one in Rainbows. And here's how I landed at that. For me, like I feel like OK Computer is such an incredible commentary on isolation. And it's very, like, I think cerebrally thought out and structured. But I feel like In Rainbows is like the soul. And it's so like vulnerable. And like, I mean, you even there's even a stripped downness in the acousticness. And it's just, I found myself just continuing to just gravitate to this album over and over and over. And there's a warmth to it that I feel like OK Computer intentionally lacks, which
Hmm.
is part of why it's masterful.
Yeah.
But in the end, I did go with my relationship with the music, which is biased.
No, yeah.
But again, I'll say on any critics list, I think I would probably order it OK Computer, In Rainbows, and Kid A, which I feel like is usually kind of the standard way.
And I think with everyone, it's like those top two would can switch on any
Mhm.
given day. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I honestly went back and forth on In Rainbows and OK Computer so many times, but
Yeah.
the end, to me, In Rainbows is absolutely no skips, no matter how many times I listen to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even the track that which one was it that you said was like the
Jigsaw falling into place.
yeah,
I
I
just feel like it was a bit of a weaker track. It was like there wasn't much to it, and it just was like there. It was there, and there wasn't. Yeah.
so for me, like as long as a transition track is like very solid glue, I don't mind it. I almost feel
Yeah,
like
yeah, and I would have minded it less had it been like an interlude, like we know that them to do, you know? So if it had been more of an interlude track, I would have probably liked it and been like,
I,
perfect.
I
But
I honestly don't know
it was
why.
almost like a song that it's a 4 minute song, it's a full song.
I don't know why gets the number of streams that it did. Like, was it in a TV show or something?
It could have
Maybe.
been, well, I don't know if, was it one of the singles that came out?
I don't know, man. Like, hold on. Let me just do this. Raise your hand if you paid $0 and downloaded this album when it came out. Anyone?
Oh.
This Radiohead was like a pioneer with this album because they were the first ones to do pay what you want.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Well, you bought the physical copy, but they did pay what you want.
Yeah.
It was kind of a test, and they were able to get away with it because they were already huge. But it was
Yeah.
like prove that people actually value music in the era of like Napster and
Right.
whatever, where people were just getting everything for free. So they put it out there online. They're like, pay whatever you want, and you could pay $0 and download it. And at the time,
Yeah.
in college, I was like, heck yeah, I'm paying $0.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I just downloaded it. But like there was other people who, they made a ton of money because there was people who paid like thousands of dollars for this album.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna super quickly talk about it and then I'm gonna give it over to Kyle. But yeah, to me, 15 steps and body. I really love what you said, Carlos, that body snatchers just kind of like propels it, like starts driving right into it. I absolutely
Yeah.
agree. 15 step, just like the textured beats of that intro are just, it's just like infectious. And it just the way that Tommy works, like voice just kind of like warbles throughout it. It's just, oh, it's just masterful. Body snatchers, yeah, just like it picks up the pace and it just thrusts you into the experience of the record. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about Nude. It's phenomenal, beautiful. It's very
Mhm.
vulnerable. It's one of their prettiest tracks. I think between Nude and Weird Fishes to me, the way that he's singing about being under the sea, whether it's like that's like depression or like some sort of like existential angst, but like you feel when he's singing about the weird fishes, like you're under the depths of the ocean, and it just it resonates with
So
me.
so I mentioned text painting earlier. He does that here too because like the the drums are in 4/4, the guitar is coming in groups of 3, and then his vocals are laying over all of that, and then the guitars that are playing multiple arpeggios, which is arpeggio is the plural version of
Okay.
arpeggio. And those are all layering on top of each other to create this sense of like waves and like layers of the ocean. So when
Mm.
he says in the deepest ocean, it's like actually text painting to what the music is doing.
So freaking genius.
Yeah.
All I
Let's
need is
hold on. Let's just listen to that really quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That part right-
Yeah. I mean, it sounds almost like a dreamy, like a harp kind of thing.
Why should I stay here? Why should I stay?
Epic.
Kyle, really quickly go to the part where it kicks into "Picked Over by the Worms."
Yeah.
That part where he starts to like it, like the song kind of slows down and opens up the space, and it just feels like you're deep in the water looking up. It's
Mhm.
just incredible. That's a freaking masterpiece of a song. Yeah, all I need is like downbeat, fast art, Reckoner House. Yeah, I mean the rest of it again. I feel like the first half of the album is incredibly strong. The second half kind of like becomes a little bit more downbeat, transitioning to the end. Um, Videotape is such it's just very pretty. Yeah, I don't know. I love this album. I could
Yeah.
just again, for me at the end of the day, the reason why I put it at number one is because there's not a weak track and I can listen to it as much as I want to. And I love the themes of it. I love the music of it.
Yeah.
Uh, just incredible. Okay, your turn, Kyle.
All right. Um, I'll try to go fast because I've been kind of commenting as we go. Okay. My number five is the Bends. My overall thoughts on the Bends is super enjoyable rock album. Like the whole thing is so cohesive. I feel like it should be on the top of any rock album, like best rock albums of the 90s lists. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
really should. And I don't know if it is. Like maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't looked at
It's
those
I think
lists.
well, it's definitely in the top 500 Rolling Stone.
Yeah, but it should
Uh,
be like when we're talking about the 90s, I feel
yeah,
like it should be in like the top 20
right.
easily.
Yeah.
Because it's just so cohesive. It's like a great album. And the concept is interesting too, because like Radiohead rose to fame through Creep so fast that it messed with them. And they weren't
Hmm.
used to they almost like grew too fast to fame and it
Yeah.
messed with them and they weren't ready for it. So the Bends is actually a reaction to that because like here, let me read this. The Bends is actually a it refers to decompression sickness, a condition that can occur in divers, like underwater divers, or
Right.
anyone exposed to rapid changes in pressure. So it's like happens when people rise up from the depths of the sea too quickly, and
Right.
it's caused by gas bubbles forming in the body's tissues. Blah blah blah. There's like this science behind it, but like the whole concept of the album was a reaction to like Creep being wildly successful.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, these guys are
Just
all
one freaking track, man.
yeah, exactly. And you can like kind of hear that through the
It's an
album.
amazing track, like I said before, it's so good, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So the band struggled to cope with the sudden attention and expectations on them. For me, the standout tracks are High and Dry, which I just find, beautiful. It's like iconic acoustic guitar riffs and solo. Just is epic. It's got a great hook. I'm just gonna play some of these as I go through them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the hook of Just is really cool. Like just the
Can't get the stink out. He's been hanging around for days.
great. It's just a great rock song.
Yeah.
I wrote my notes is like every part of this song is fire. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
And then Street Spirit is one of my favorites of all time. I think I like the key. It's just like I think it's in A minor. Um, but it's got this really cool guitar going on, and then the chorus really does it. Oh, right there. I don't know. It's like not super dynamic, but I think it's a really cool
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
Um,
It gives
I
it such like it reminds me of those iconic like prog rock, you know, songs of the I'm thinking like
Oh yeah.
yeah, like that to me that kind of beginning of it, it just has like a that prog rock sound that something like
Hmm.
not Pink Floyd, but the one who the I'm not gonna remember them right now. Anyways, you can keep going, sorry.
Yeah.
the Benz is cool. Fake Plastic Trees is cool. Um, My Iron Lung. You said something about this, Carlos. My notes are like great riff. It sounds late Beatles-esque to me.
Okay.
And
And
I
maybe
just
that's the sitar sound because
yeah, the
that
sitar. I said
yeah.
a good song, and I think it gets overshadowed
Yeah,
by
it's not a sitar, but it just the guitar almost plays like it's a sitar or something.
yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my number five.
Solid.
And I just I like the whole thing is very cohesive, and I just think it's um I don't know I like that Radiohead is like writing music if like kind of reactionary to like what they're going through as a band.
Hmm.
And it's cool to see how the albums kind of reflect that. So this whole album was a kind of a reaction to, their instant
Yeah.
fame because of
Yeah.
because of what came right before it. Okay, number four, Amnesiac.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's just something about Amnesiac that, now when I listen to it as a whole, there's definitely some songs that I kind of want to skip. But there are some really standout tracks that are some of my favorites, and I think that's what contributed to it getting a higher score. This is one of my favorite, like like maybe one of my favorite guitar riffs ever. Like I want to learn how to play this on guitar.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I really like Pyramid Song. Obviously, it's incredible. You and Whose Army is awesome. There's a big pickup there mid song. It almost sounds like it's going to be like one of those interlude songs. In the
Yeah.
middle, like in the middle, you got to kind of like it's a slow burn. You got to wait
Yeah,
for
for
it,
sure.
but then you get the payoff. Is this like big orchestral payoff?
Yeah.
Like spinning plates. I can I maybe honestly make it's not my favorite song, but what I admire about it is that he he recorded the melody and then he played it in reverse.
Hmm.
Do you know this story?
Yeah.
He played it in reverse and he just listened to the reverse melody over and over and over, and then he recorded the reverse melody, and then they
Interesting.
reversed that to actually be what's on the song. So if you
Okay.
listen to it, if you can hear it. So you hear how it sounds kind of weird, like something's wrong with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because he sang it in reverse and then they flipped it. And
Interesting.
he had to learn the melody backwards within this weird time signature.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I give it credit just for like the production and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
experimentation that went into
Yeah.
the song. I can hear like I can see how it's like not really a standout track.
Yeah.
But I definitely like wouldn't scrap it from the album. Um, okay, that was my number four pick.
Real quick, Kyle, I just
Yeah.
want to all the reasons you listed is why I would have Amnesiac as like my number six, but it's the filling of a little bit of filler and skippableness that I feel like for me it was even a little bit above like the bins in terms of that for me.
Yeah.
But when it's so good.
I
It's like
know. I wrote that. I wrote the B-sides album that feels and plays as good as its preceding release, which was Kid A. Some of Radiohead's best songs, but overall the lulls aren't amazing, and
yeah,
overall it feels less cohesive. And I think that like the highs are really high, but then there's some lows that like don't that pull it back from I being as good as I think it could be.
Huh.
agree. Agree.
Okay, let's keep going. My number three, and this is where
So first of all, our number five and four are just flipped.
Amnesiac in the bins.
Yeah.
No, because Rudy didn't have Amnesiac.
No, I just mean you and me.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's all that matters, man. I thought Kid A was going to be higher for me. Kid A is number three. And I think this is the one where this is my like what Hail to the Thief is for you, Carlos. Kid A is for me because
Okay.
really like the first album I heard
Yeah.
to like get into Radiohead. So I didn't really have any expectation of like how Radiohead was supposed to sound.
Interesting.
Someone like gave me this. I think David Reed like he gave me Kid A on like a burned CD, and I
Uh-huh.
popped it in and I listened to this, and
Yeah.
I was like instantly I was like this is freaking rad. Like
Yeah. No, that's a
those
great song.
those five notes, I was just like, whoa, like what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like now every time I hear that, it's just
It's
like
just so warm
it's
sounding
fully
too.
right into the album.
Yeah.
And then there's like super cool like textures on it.
Yeah.
And maybe my like expectations of Radiohead at the time were like, oh, they're just a rock band. So then I heard this and it kind of like blew me away. And I was
Yeah.
just like, and I was also into
No, I mean, I
like
think,
electronic.
it is it to so many people, this is one of the greats.
Yeah, but
Uh,
for me
so I get it.
personally, I went into it not expecting OK Computer and not
Yeah.
expecting the bends. Like I
Right,
just
right,
went
right.
into it thinking like, oh, what is Radiohead all about? And I
Yeah.
heard this.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helps me to like it a lot more.
Right.
Maybe I don't know. I know that like critically, like this album got thrashed when it was
Oh yeah, when it first came out, yeah.
yeah. Like everyone thought Radiohead was just like trolling them with like
Yeah.
this stupid album. Uh,
Right.
so an interesting note that I learned when I was learning about this album is the national anthem. They actually had like this full horn section come in to record
Yeah.
at the end of the
That's a
song,
cool track.
and it blows up at the end, right? And during the recording, like Tom York and Johnny Greenwood, they would jump up and down on what part of the horn section they wanted to play louder. But it was
Okay.
kind of this thing where like everyone's just playing at once, very kind of like Mingus-esque. But
Yeah.
like they would jump up and down when they want certain parts to play louder. And
Okay.
Tom York actually like broke his foot in the process. So just kind of like a fun anecdote about
That's
that.
weird.
But yeah, the national anthem is one of my standout tracks, everything in its right place. And then I really like Idiotech. I know
Yeah.
it's like kind of a
No,
dancey.
no, that is a cool song too.
Yeah, and that was another one where I heard it and I was like kind of instantly hooked, like at the time. This beat, like it just grabbed me.
Yeah. From your rave days.
Yeah, exactly. Lyrically, it's weird. It sounds like he's just kind of pulling phrases out of a hat and singing them. Like there's not, it's weird, but it goes back to this concept of him like caring more about like the texture and the sound of the vocals versus like
Yeah.
really what was actually going on. And I don't know if that's entirely true, but like that's the story I'm believing about this album. Um, So I wrote overall the album. This is the album that was Radiohead's escape plan from being just another 90s rock band, catapulting them into the 2000s. Kid A is just as good today as it was when it first dropped 25 years ago, loaded with diverse sounds, textures, instruments. Although at the time of its release, it completely polarized Radiohead fan base, now it's hard to imagine the Radiohead catalog without it. Amazing, cohesive work. And then as a note, I wrote, Tom is sick of his voice, so he turned it into an instrument.
Yeah.
Kyle, how did you determine? Because I struggled constantly. I had most of my list. I had Kid A at number three, and I switched it at the end because I just freaking adore it too much. But how did you determine to keep it out of the
I
top
think
two?
it was like just for me, like now, which albums would I go back and like listen to over and over, front to back? And I don't
I
know, like
wonder if
now, like my top two picks are like ones that I would probably listen to more often.
I wonder if it has to do with because like my first Radiohead album was OK Computer, and I listened to it so much. So I
Mhm.
wonder if you have a similar feeling. But anyways, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. So number two, and this is where I struggled, is like which is one and which is two. And I'm just gonna stick with the math. Number two for me, um, by like point 0.2 points, um, was OK Computer. Uh, my thoughts on OK Computer. This record is so good. Here, let's just go to it. Probably top 10 rock albums of all time. Great diversity among the individual tracks, but at the same time, it's a cohesive work. Amazing song structures, keys, chord progressions, weird time signatures, um, all paired with like singable and thematic lyrics. It's probably the most singable Radiohead album. If you like want to sing along, like there's some really cool parts of some of these songs. I feel like this album just has it all. Fitter Happier is like probably one. It is a song I'll usually skip, like I'll admit.
Yeah.
But and also I feel like it set the stage for Radiohead to really break out of the rock band box and become. I feel like this was the album that like set them up to become what they are today. Like they could have just kept doing the bends and
Yeah.
it would have been a 90s band, and I think that's
It
it.
would have been a great 90s band, but
Yeah,
but it would
I
have
think
just
they
been a
would have
90s band.
stayed in the 90s,
Yeah.
um, or maybe not evolved. I do
Enough.
think
Yeah.
that OK Computer was the album that like set them on that path.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, like let's play one song. What are you guys' standouts here?
I mean, Subterranean Homesick Blues, or not Homesick Alien, I mean.
My comments for this track is one word. I just wrote rad.
I live in a town where you can't smell a thing. You watch your feet for cracks in the
Oh yeah. For me, the end of Paranoid Android is a
Yeah.
oh it's awesome. This
Yeah.
song is like a pretty abnormal song structure where instead of being like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, it's just got three different parts that are
Yeah.
completely separate from one another.
Yeah.
Oh, like they were starting to experiment with like weird structures here, which also became, kind of what defined them,
Yeah.
especially among like the hardcore fans. I like Current Release. Um, epic terminal ending. So, terminal ending is where like the song just goes on and on and on and kind of
Mhm.
just fades out, and it's like instead of going back to like what you would think is the chorus, it just kind of like stays on this bridge until the end. Like if you think of Hey Jude by the Beatles,
Uh-huh.
when they get to the like na 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 part at the
Yeah.
end, it just like keeps going, right? And they never go
Right.
back to like the chorus. Same thing here with Karma Police, where you get anyway, I'll
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. Cool.
I think OK Computer is incredible. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, I didn't even get into No Surprises, which is awesome.
Yeah.
There's some songs here. Let me see if I have any other notes.
I just also want to say The Tourist is an underrated closer.
I
That's
wrote great. I just wrote, yeah, great ending. It's
Yeah.
really, really cool song. Um, And then my number one, I mean, this might come as a surprise, but Pablo Honey, Creep. Uh, in Rainbows. Um, yeah, I know we talked about it a little bit already, and I just kind of agree with everything that was already said. I do my notes here are I think it's easiest the most palatable Radiohead album. Um, and I'm not ashamed to like have it as my number one, like in saying that. I think it's there's no wonder that this album is so popular. It's fun. It has an incredible diverse track listing. And I can see it maybe being not being diehard Radiohead fans' favorite album since it's not as it feels less groundbreaking and experimental than some of their other beloved works. But I feel like it blends everything that everyone loved from the different eras of Radiohead. So what you said about Hail to the Thief is
Hmm.
my commentary on this album. I feel like
Okay.
it takes from the Bends, OK Computer,
Yeah.
Kid, Amnesiac, like
Oh, I
everything.
agree with that too. I feel like this then is the next step, right, in doing
Yeah.
that, from Hail to the Thief almost.
Yeah, so that was my thought. It's like everything I love about the other ones is like encapsulated in this album, which makes it
Yeah.
my number one pick. So, let's see. My standout tracks are 15 Step, Weird Fishes.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah. I really like when I first heard it, I really liked Reckoner. Although I don't know if it's my favorite song now, but I think Tom York like loved his voice again. Like he started singing and it's like not a texture anymore.
Yeah. I was
Which
gonna say his voice is hauntingly beautiful on this album. It's
yeah.
just my favorite vocal.
I wrote for this song.
I,
I
I'm gonna be listening. I just have to clean up something for the dogs real quick. Give me one sec.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just talk to myself. Um, my note on videotape is just like incredible what Tom can do with so little. Literally just like the piano and like a really simple beat and like his.
Yeah.
So anyway, like yeah, this album kind of does it all for me. It's a no skips album. Uh,
Yeah.
there's not even any like interlude skips that like I'm like, oh well, that track kind of makes sense because it pieces everything together.
Yeah.
I like Jigsaw falling into place. Like
No, and like I said, it's just the weaker song of the
yeah,
album to me, and that's it. I don't skip it, you
yeah,
know.
for sure.
Um,
So yeah, that's me, man.
that's awesome.
Yeah, no. No surprises for me, I guess. I did think that like Kid A was going to be maybe my one or two, but it's actually In Rainbow's OK Computer, then Kid A,
Yeah.
Amnesiac, then the Bends.
Uh,
Although I might even put the Bends in the number four position, like if I listen to it more, uh,
Yeah.
because the Bends was more of a no skip album, and Amnesiac did have a few moments that wasn't really as excited about. So
Yeah, yeah. So Kid A for me was number six. Number seven was King of Limbs, and eight was Moonshaped Pool. I really feel I tried to listen. I mean, I listened to it the different times, and I don't know. I just felt like it stayed in the same space and didn't go anywhere.
you're
So
missing out.
it kind of felt flat to me.
It's thematically cohesive.
This is how I like to say it.
yeah, uh Moonshade Pool. Let me see what my
But
scores were.
I will say, I thought it was boring the first time I listened to it. I with Radiohead for some reason, I find that my relationship with them changes if I give them some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it's worth saying that the like on my ranking, it wouldn't shock me if it shuffles a little bit when I spend some times with some of them that are harder for me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I wouldn't say that with OK Computer and Rainbows or Hail to the Thief for me because those are my top three. And I feel like those I just got instantly. I was like, oh,
Uh,
this is amazing.
well, the top three for me, like I love all of them so much
Yeah.
that they almost will, depending on my mood of the day,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For
but
sure.
they will stay the top three
Yeah.
for OK Computer and
Yeah.
Rainbow. They will always be top three
Yeah, yeah.
until unless Radiohead releases new music, and
Yeah.
then
my
Speaking of,
my Moonshaped Pool was my last position as well.
you guys are
Sorry, man.
missing out.
I
you guys are
maybe I need
missing
to
out.
maybe I need to give it some time.
Yeah,
But I agree
I'll
with
listen to it
Carlos.
again.
I feel like it didn't really go anywhere. It was felt a little monotonous.
Yeah, I felt the same when I first listened to
I'm kind of shocked that the King of Limbs wasn't last because there's just so many tracks on there that I don't really like at all. But I think it had a few that I really liked, and that brought.
Yeah, I mean, it just for me, it was very experimental, just going along with what they've usually done.
Yeah.
And Moonshaped Pool didn't seem that experimental to me. It seemed like it was just kind of like almost like maybe they were trying to make a soundtrack or something for a movie. You know, it does seem very epic and I don't know, like like they were trying to make music for a soundtrack or something.
the fact that you guys would put a moon shaped pool above King of Limbs and Pablo Honey is like ridiculous to me. But again,
All right.
maybe and just like if you look
Oh, Pablo Honey is not even on this list, so they would be number nine. You
okay,
know,
fair.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, I have at like number six would be Amnesiac, seven would be um Hell to the Thief, then honestly I might put Pablo Honey above King of Limbs if I'm being real.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
They're kind of meh to me,
I can
but
see that. I wanted to show this real quick. So they like all the different members of Radiohead go and have done their different stuff. So this is EOB. I forget the guy's name in Radiohead, but it's E. Those are his initials.
Johnny Greenwood. Oh wait, EOB. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a really good album here. If you guys want to check that out.
I've never even heard of that.
yeah,
And then obviously, Kyle, you just found out that the Smile existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go check out like some of the albums if you want to keep going on the Radiohead thing. Some of the albums from the different members. I think
Well,
all of
yeah,
them.
even like
The drummer has his own thing, the bassist has his own thing, Johnny Greenwood has his own thing.
some of Tom York's. I've listened to some of Tom York's albums,
Yeah.
and they're okay.
He
There's some.
actually has a new one that he just released.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, there's some tracks. I mean, honestly, like as a whole, I don't love Tom York's albums. But
Yeah.
there's a few tracks that will stand out, and I'll like save those songs, and I'll go back to them over and over again. But then like the albums as a whole are just. I feel like Johnny Greenwood did so much for Radiohead that is
Yeah.
just is missing
Yeah.
on like, Tom
strong.
York's individual stuff.
Yeah, and then obviously check out the Smile. And yeah, and then Johnny Greenwood himself just being a composer for movie soundtracks.
All right, I gotta go, guys.
All right, man.
90s, the best of the 90s next time.
Yeah,
Gonna be good.
go ahead, man.
All right.
All
See
right.
ya.
Bye.
Peace.